I saw a tweet from Caitlin Collins of CNN saying, breaking, CNN has obtained the audio recording of Trump acknowledging that he had, quote, secret military information that was not declassified 6 months after leaving office. It is a key piece in Jack Smith's case against the former president, and it's airing now on CNN. So let's get some thoughts and reaction on this, and let's actually hear the audio tape that CNN released. And I believe this has already been out for a day or two, but I guess they were going back to it to further confirm, because I feel like
I think CNN.
No, I think this was exclusive last night. And Caitlin Collins, Anderson Cooper broke it on his program yesterday. He was the first to air it.
Okay.
But they were promoting it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I saw.
Yeah, so I think Caitlin was, because in television, unlike radio, they will actually say, hey, Anderson is this big exclusive, so promote. They kind of have cross teases and deep teases. We don't do that as much throughout the day.
All right.
Just a suggestion.
Okay.
We do the What's on Tap for the Dawn show at 9:53.
Yeah, we do it. That's true.
Yes. You don't tease what Dom's talking about coming up at?
No, I just mean they do it throughout the day, which I love.
Oh, okay.
And they work together.
Right.
So that, remember Greg, when Greg last said every show had booked Vivek because none of us talked to each other. We had him all day long.
It's the Ramaswamy
right.
The Ramaswamy Power Hour.
Right.
Yeah.
So Anderson, probably a producer got it, and they decided to put it on Anderson.
All right. Let's take.
Well, by the way, too, if you're watching on YouTube, we're gonna put the video up so you can actually see the conversation that is taking place. You can hear it. It's a decent recording, which begs another question of where they got this.
Yes.
But if you're watching along on YouTube, you can actually see the text.
All right, let's take a listen and watch the Trump breaking revelations last night as Caitlin Collins of CNN tees it up.
Bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
It started right at the beginning.
Like when Millie's talking about, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in.
That's right.
Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Millie, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. Wow. We looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here.
Yeah.
I just found. Isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case,
Mm-hmm.
Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time,
she'd send it. No, she'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert. By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying because we were talking about it, and he said he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the papers. This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify.
figure out
See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is classified.
Now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so. Look, here I have. And you probably almost didn't believe me, but now you believe me.
No, I believe
It's incredible, right?
No,
Hey, bring some Cokes in, please.
Okay, so there you have it. That's the audio, and if you were watching
Bring
on...
some Cokes in.
Can I get some McDonald's in here as well? I'm a little hungry. Now, I believe Trump posted this on Truth Social last night after this whole thing came out on CNN, and he says the following: the deranged special prosecutor Jack Smith, working in conjunction with the DOJ and FBI, illegally leaked and spun a tape and transcript of me, which is actually an exoneration rather than what they would have you believe. This continuing witch hunt is another election interference scam. They are cheaters and thugs. So it doesn't seem as if Trump is denying the authenticity of that recording, which was one of the first questions I had last night. And Greg, you kind of mentioned there before we played it how good the quality of audio is, which never seems to be the case when in these little scrum type settings where you would think, hey, it's 2023. You think we could get like a better audio feed of that recording?
Well, they said if you're watching along on YouTube, the woman talking, it says staffer, so you don't know who that is. But I had read and heard that it may have been some sort of reporter or something, or somebody who was recording it for whatever they were, writing an article or a book or whatever they were doing. But I don't think that's been verified as to who that person was.
Go ahead, Dawn. What
strikes me about this, and I have these conversations with people all the time where I'll say, is this on the record? And if somebody said to me what he said, this is off the record, by the way, that right there, whoever's recording that, and I'm assuming it's her.
Yep.
You turn it off, but it doesn't matter. He revoked his consent. Florida is a two-party consent.
Well,
remember
this was in Bedminster.
Oh, this was in Bedminster.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is New
That's
Jersey.
right. It was Bedminster.
Okay.
But consent matters. Remember, even going back to Linda Tripp and Monica Lewinsky, the way that they were able to get those is because they purposely recorded it from a state that's one-party consent. Most states are two-party consent.
I would love to know, as he's holding up those documents and going like that, and look at this, and he's selling it as, oh, these are secret and these are classified, and is he actually, and I don't know if we'll know the answer or ever get the answer, is he really holding classified documents, or is he just like trying to be cool, like, look what I have?
No. Two things about this. This actually verifies everything that I actually thought about this case.
Okay.
I think that the legality of him having these or not, and then saying he didn't have them, and obviously he did, is a separate issue. There's this narrative going around that he had these to sell them or to use them for blackmail,
which is ridiculous.
This proves to me that he just had them to kind of show off to people and say, hey, look, remember when they said this about me? Well, I have proof that that's not what was actually said. And
Greg,
you can tell that by the Millie thing, too.
Greg, if somebody constantly, every day on the job, said, Greg Stocker's a liar, 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 Russia, 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 you might just, you're leaving the job, take some evidence of the fact that you weren't lying, that exonerate you.
I'm not. Look,
that's what he's doing.
But it's different when it's classified documents. Like it's, like you can defend yourself, but like you can't just take classified documents. That's not the point in this.
Yeah.
My point is that he's not actually selling.
No.
He doesn't actually want to use this to sell to foreign countries or whatever. He's just using this as a bragging tool. But by the way, all of this, what we discuss and what the public thinks about this, is kind of irrelevant. It's going to be what the courts think.
Absolutely.
Of this. And if they, him going on TV and saying, they were just newspaper clippings, or they were like, he did himself no service by doing that, because it proves that he was not telling the truth.
I see it from a different angle, just from the timing standpoint, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but earlier in the day, and I know we'll play this coming up on the cut sheet, Joe Biden is kind of going off script and rambling and says something to the effect of, I sold a lot of state secrets, and then in the evening, we find out, hey, let's release the audio of Trump talking about, to a writer about having classified documents. It's like, once again, I feel like the DOJ and the media kind of in bed together, whether it's CNN and the government or big tech and big media with this weaponized justice system we have. Because think about the timing. Biden essentially says, I sold a bunch of information earlier in the day, and then tapes get released about Trump saying, I have secrets, which is kind of the tease I said at the beginning of the show, where I said, we're going to have a lot of secrets to share today, secrets to the left and secrets to the right. So always keep in mind, to me, at least in my perspective, the timing of this stuff. It's almost like every time Joe is on the verge of shooting himself in the foot, or immediately after shooting himself in the foot, something comes out that goes against Trump. It's almost like a game of cat and mouse of, well, all right, our guy just screwed up, so now we release something that shows your guy screwed up as well. I don't know if you find any coincidence in the timing.
I do, but to the point of this particular case about Trump, who's in the crosshairs, obviously, is that and New Jersey is a one-party consent. I was thinking for some reason it was Mar-a-Lago, but you're right, it was Bedminster. So that takes away that aspect of it. So who he was talking to matters, and he's holding up a piece of paper and saying the words that he basically wishes he could have declassified it when he was president.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time stamping it. He's clearly not president anymore. So the lawyers will pick this thing apart and say, well, that was sloppy. He did declassify it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like the lawyers will now have at this, and that's the real question here to me.
And also keep in mind too the release of these classified documents in the media with pictures. I mean, we've seen the Trump spread of documents, and they're like kind of just scattered all over the floor like they were organized for like a picture, like a photo op. We haven't seen those with Joe's. Have you noticed that? Like, the only visual we really have of the Joe Biden documents is when Joe's backing into his garage with the Corvette, and you see in the background that like little distant box. And who knows what's really in that box? Could be Joe's collectible baseball cards from 1945. We don't know. But like with Trump's documents, they're scattered out like it's like a crime scene.
But remember, Trump claimed that the FBI, when raiding, that the FBI staged that. That was his claim.
That's kind of my point. Yeah.
And he said, and he, I know it was.
It's like when you you get all your new clothes for school and you lay them out on the bed and you just kind of organize them. And you take a picture like, here, this is the fall wardrobe, right?
Yeah, and it would be, to me, it would be fascinating to know, because remember they said that they had video and the FBI was upset that there was all that surveillance video in Mar-a-Lago. So my question is, do they have video of those, whoever went in, spreading and displaying those documents like that? Mm-hmm. I don't have the answer. Yeah. I'm asking the question. I still will say, even though CNN is taking this snippet, lawyers will pick this thing apart.
There's also at about 1 minute and 50 seconds into this audio clip, it cuts. And then it skips to something else. So I don't know if something was redacted for legal reasons or if it was edited. I'm not sure. But there's definitely, as somebody who knows audio,
or for safety concerns,
there is definitely a piece of that is edited at some point. So I'd like to hear the whole thing in context as well. But I don't know. I understand. I understand what now. Like this paints a better picture for me of why. Mm-hmm. He did this. Like I get it. It's what I always suspected. Mm-hmm. I just think that him, the issue is him showing them to and Navy Prepper on YouTube says that it was actually, they think it's Mark Meadows' biographer who he was talking to, and Mark Meadows, which has long been the rumored is the leak. You know what I mean, with all of this stuff.
Yes.
So he's handing over all of this issue. So
gotcha.
just remember, it's always the people you think are closest to you.
Well,
what do they say? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
But the deal is, if I were one of the people with anybody like this, I would say, no, you're not recording it, or I want to have my finger on the so when he says this is off the record, push stop recording.
Yeah.
Remember, there was that New York Times thing years ago, and I forget which one this is, and they said similar, this is off the record or this is on background. That means you're not recording. Mm-hmm. People, stop the recording. And so that person is not a credible to me, that biographer, whoever that is, should lose total credibility. In my humble opinion, that is so low and schmuckety. I hate it.
Yeah, and in this day and age with terrible journalism and not doing it, and then you go to this, like this is the opposite end of it. Like, this is where you lose credibility and you lose respect when you essentially publish something that was deemed to be off the record, right?
I mean, could there have been a subpoena that said give up these things or else?
You never give it up, Greg.
No, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying.
You go to jail. Like, I have stuff that I've never released that I will die with, and it's a big deal. It really is a big deal. And so this person, It's like
You mean stuff like that you've received from sources?
yes,
Yes.
When somebody says you off the record, that's a big deal. It really is.
Well, remember the government tried to out the Twitter files guy
Matt Taibbi.
Matt Taibbi.
Remember they were like, "Well, who are your sources?" And he's like, "I'm not going to tell you my
exactly.
sources."
And it was a preposterous. Sorry, I'm getting all upset. And remember, they had the IRS show up at his house.
Right.
No, this is a threat to democracy. If we want to talk about a threat to democracy, some scum who says they're going to be a journalist and a biographer and they're going to interview somebody and they're agreeing that something is off the record and they're recording it and they allow that subpoena, you should have destroyed it, but they didn't. Because why? Because they want that fame. They want that book. And so they've sold their integrity. They're basically a whore. That's what that is.
And it also goes to the state of the media right now, right?
Yep.
I mean, media bought and paid for. You're getting. You always talk about what's the slant. What's the slant? Well, forget the slant. It's like when it comes to going after Trump, CNN does hardcore digging, and they can't get enough of it. And the same thing with the New York Times, the Washington Post. But when it's Joe Biden in the crosshairs, like with the text messages with Hunter and everything that we've talked about from Monday towards late last week, it's almost a non-story. So I think, and we have a story that we're going to get to a little bit later in the show, the death of legacy media. From a news media
such a great story.
It is.
Yeah.
From a news media standpoint, forget like, comedy and content and shows and Netflix, but from CNN and Fox and MSNBC and what used to be highly regarded newspaper publications. I mean, the New York Times used to be the be-all, end-all, right there with the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Now it's just like we pick and choose when we want to do journalism and what we want to ignore.
Also, if they're throwing around the Espionage Act term just because he showed this, by the way, it's just it appears to be Mark Milley laying out how they would invade Iran or whatever.
Correct.
Go to war with Iran. Like that to me is not like you're not espionage to me sounds like you're selling secrets or you're playing double agent.
Yeah, it's got a
to
James
foreign
Bond
government
type feel to
like it sounds very like
movie-ish.
Yeah, showing it to a reporter or whatever, whoever this person is, and saying like this is they wanted to invade Iran. I didn't want to do it, even though they said I did. That's that Espionage Act for that. If that's what they have for the Espionage Act, I think that's very, very flimsy.
Yeah, Jonathan Turley would probably agree.
Yeah.
But with that said, does it look sloppy on Trump's part?
Of course.
And is this just audio or is it video?
Well, and that's you say, is it on Trump and is it his fault? Yes, absolutely. But this is like the bigger theme with this guy is it's just so many times, even, when people are like, oh, I love Trump's policies, but he just couldn't shut up enough of the tweeting. Like he can be his absolute own worst enemy. He's got diarrhea of the mouth. It's like,
but Nick,
just stop
he
talking.
He comes from an era. If he had said that to Leslie Stahl or an old school journalist from, Mike Wallace.
Probably much safer doing so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
So there were times, even 8 years ago, where you could be in a room with whoever officials. If Mayor Jim Kenney said something, this is off the record, and it was like the biggest story ever. If I agreed it was off the record, I would not report that.
Right.
Boom, there it is. That's the era in which Trump is from.
Right.
And so in his mind,
which doesn't exist today
no,
anymore.
it doesn't. Yeah. And so in his mind, he's thinking this person says off the record and this is the rule, but you can't do that anymore. And that's not a good thing because in government, sometimes you need those journalists to understand the big picture.
Yep.
You need that. And think about our Constitution. Think about how important, what is the First Amendment? This is a big deal. The First Amendment, free speech. Why is it that journalists among all the professions shouldn't be licensed? I went to a journalism school, an accredited high quality journalism school, but Meg Brock is a journalist as a mom in Bucks County who's highly involved filing Freedom of Information requests. And by the way, breaking a lot of news.
Yeah, nowadays all you need is curiosity,
That's right.
a work ethic, and a social media
That's
account.
right.
By the way, we're spending a lot of time on the fact that this reporter gave up this tape. We don't know that. We don't know that she gave up this tape. We don't know who was recording.
I know. There's still a lot of unknowns.
She could have just
to
been
this.
there.
Right.
You know what I
Whoever
mean?
did, I'm just saying whoever. He's saying to somebody, this is off the record.
Maybe
and
it was
that
Mark
tells-
Meadows. Maybe it was Mark Meadows who was standing right there.
But that tells me a lot.
Then he doesn't have any, sort of journalistic integrity.
And keep in mind the timeline of this. This was July of 2021. So he's been out of the White House for 6-7 months, and this is in Bedminster. This is not Mar-a-Lago.